Welcome to the Baseball, Softball, Pacific Rim podcast. This is Rob Pennant, and in this interview, you're going to hear an awesome conversation between Adrian Alo and Perelini Koria-Bush. Adrian dives deep into where Perelini's at now, but where it all started in the beginning. She's got a great inspirational story, and I can't wait for you to hear it. You'll also get to hear on what she's doing now. She's actually coaching softball at a high level. So she goes from playing successfully in softball at that high school level all the way to playing at a Division I level, and now is coaching at a high level. So we are excited for this interview, and I hope you enjoy it. Thanks.
Hey. Perelini?
Hi.
Hey, girl. How are you?
I'm good. I'm apologize right now if you hear my kids.
Oh, it's okay. It all comes with it, huh? It's the whole deal. It's the whole package, right?
All three voices. Stop. Yeah.
All right. Is this a good time to talk, or did you want to reschedule?
No, girl, you're good.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, you tell me, like, do I need to be quiet? Is this being recorded kind of stuff?
Be you, girl. It's already being recorded.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're good.
Okay. Well, again, basically on behalf of Rob Pennant and Pacific Rim, we just want to thank you for taking the time to share your softball journey. But that's what you're going to be doing. This is going to be your platform to share your story of where you started and where you're at and where you like to go with it. So, yeah, if you don't mind, we'll go ahead and get started if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that works. That's good. Sounds good.
All right. So basically, I'm just going to, ask you a few questions here and there, and then you're just going to go ahead and share as much as you like, and we'll go from there. But first and foremost, if you want to just introduce yourself, your kids, obviously, your family, and then kind of where you're from, where you grew up, and then eventually we'll go into the sports part of it.
Okay. So my name is Perelini Charlene Bush, formerly Koria. I was born in San Diego, California, and raised in the city of Carson. Lived there all my life in the South Bay, mainly in Gardena, and pretty much that's where it all started for me when I found a love for softball. Before I go into that, my kids, I have 3 daughters. My oldest is 5. Her name's Ashlyn Charlotte Lofa Bush. I have my second, who is 3 years old. Her name's Charlene Deborah Bush. And my last but not least, my youngest, who is 1 year old, her name is Leneah Manuma Bush. So I got a little, I don't know if it's softball, I don't know if it's going to be volleyball, I don't know what it's going to be. It might just be a doctor or a lawyer. I'm cool with whatever.
Oh.
But they have been pretty much, and as I go further into it, I'll kind of highlight how they really evolved a lot of my career too. But pretty much where it all started was just, I played over for Scott Park, now Foysia Park, and James Foysia Park, and that pretty much was because of Uncle James, and I just followed wherever. My mom's side, that really influenced a lot of it, because a lot of my mom's side, which my mother's name is Charlene Koria, formerly as Malumalumu, she was really big in getting me and my sister Deborah in sports, and I started there, and then they kind of took us around from there to Paramount. I don't know if that's the league, but we played out that way, and that's where we first started doing like all-stars and all that stuff, and then we moved to Gardena, and we lived right around the corner from Robert E. Perry Middle School, and we were attending Lomita Magnet at the time, and we were just playing rec ball, and we played for Moss Fukai, which I think that's what it. I don't know if they changed the name, but that was right off of 160th Street, and pretty much we played there. And the way my career started was I broke the number one rule by talking to strangers. And after one of my practices, the park director, and I feel so bad, I forget his name, but Dino, who still actually works there, may know who I'm talking about. I think his name is Danny or something like that. Ed Nabayan would know the name too. But pretty much that director came up to me after one of my practices and was like, hey, kid, like, you know, can I have your parents' number? And me being fearful and just not listening, I gave him my number, and my mom got a call literally like a couple days and yelled at me and said, Leneah, and I was just like, what? She was like, what did I tell you? Like, why is this man calling? Who the hell is this? And I was just like so scared, but come to find out, he wanted to introduce me to a travel team in the local area, which happened to be my first travel coach, which was Ed Nabayan, Junior Moyai. And these are big names that have been in our softball community in Carson and in the Pac-12. But they actually were the first team that actually took a chance to letting me be a part of their program. They were a starter team, and I played with players like Valentina Nabayan, who's also the head coach over at Harbor right now. I played with great names like Priscilla Satete, who also was a huge player at Banning. One of my best friends, Kristen Ariola, that's where I first met her. Who played at Arizona with me. And Brittany Moyai. This was 10U. So this is 10U. Mhm.
Mhm.
So
and how old were you when you first started playing?
Oh, well, I guess I would say I was a late bloomer. So I did T-ball and all that stuff. So whatever the age for that is, I guess like 6, 7.
Right.
But I didn't get competitive with it till I met, Coach Nabayan's team, which was at that time the SoCal Quake. And so we used to. I got to do better at this. I would know the park when I see it, but they started practicing at one of the local parks in Carson, and then from there we went and started doing travel tournaments like in Vegas and all that fun stuff. And I was raw talent. I was crybaby at practice. Didn't know what conditioning was. Had 2 left feet when I ran the bases. They really saw me like, who the hell is this kid? Like, there's no hope kind of thing. But they really invested in me, and I would say that's probably when I really realized my love for the game, because I experienced opportunities like when we heard of you playing at Carson, and my mom was like, yeah, you have a cousin that plays for Carson High School. And at the time I was like, huh, like what is this? Never was introduced to high level softball like that. And at that time, being able to go and watch the games at Carson. And if anyone, whoever's listening, I'm talking about Adrian. But, being able to be introduced. And I remember coming up to the fields, and, when you go to Carson High School, you see that big fence in the outfield, and you're just kind of waiting on the sidewalk. And I was just like, why are we sitting on the sidewalk? And then all I got a glimpse of was Adrian at the bat, and you got a base hit. I believe you guys, I don't know who you guys were playing, but I just know that when my mom said that was my big cousin playing, and I saw you do your thing and everyone cheer, I got really excited. I was like, damn, like I want to be that. Like I want people to cheer for me. I want to, show that I can do it. But I also had a long way to go, but being able to follow you, and then I remember going to your guys' city championship game, I believe, with Danira on the mound against Pedro, I think it was. But, I just saw a huge community of Samoan girls and Polynesian girls, and I just got inspired. And I was just like, damn, that's tight. Like, there's finally I guess at that time the word wasn't platform, but I was just like, there are girls like me that look like me that can do it. It's not just, there's something special about it. So pretty much from there, I was really inspired, and I was very observant. I took what I could from watching, and then that's when your dad had introduced my mom to Coach Norm, because I needed a hitting coach. And pretty much at age 10, I remember.
This was all at 10 years old?
Yeah, it's all 10 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty much I remember going to, is it Fullerton JC, where you guys used to practice? So we went over there, and your dad introduced us, and I remember seeing the Panthers, Gordon's Panthers practicing, and I just saw all their eye just laying there in the grill. Like, I thought it was so dope. I was like, yo, they're having a barbecue and it's practice. Like, who does that? But I didn't understand, the internal stuff that you guys went through, like the long hour practices that you guys had, and that's why you had your meals there. Like, I didn't understand none of that. But at the time, I was just so amazed because I saw all these people, and you're there, and you guys are all in uniform, and then we get introduced to Norm, which is a, real short, laid back Mexican man, just, and he looked at us crazy because he told us straight up. And I remember hearing him say this, like, I do not take younger kids. And I remember your dad telling my mom that. He only works with the older girls. And no one knows this, but he always used to tell me and Kristen Ariola, or Boo, because she also did lessons with me at the same time, because at the time, that stuff's expensive. It's still expensive today, but in our time, it was literally $40, and we would have to pay $20 each. And we had to work.
That was a lot of money back then, huh?
Yeah, right. That was $80. Like, that was a full tank of gas, and it ain't that no more. But pretty much, just he took us under his wing, and he took us from the Quakes, and we invested our time in doing lessons with him, and he introduced us to every single tryout, to every single team that I ever played for. So from there, he introduced me to Mark Campbell, who
Leneah, really quick.
Really
quick, I'm sorry, we'll come back to Mark Campbell. What was it like coming from, you said Carson, Gardena, the South Bay, going out to, you mentioned my home field, which was Fullerton. What were you feeling at that time, and during that time frame of starting up with softball, from the area, from this local area, and you're going out that way? Did anything stand in your way, any obstacles?
Oh, yeah. There were a lot of things that we went through. At that time, I would have, the way I could paint the picture, the stuff going on back in the city, just being in Carson, Torrance, Gardena. It just wasn't really safe. Lots of racial issues, gang-related issues, and in my family, there were a little bit of everything. We had successful people. We had also people who weren't really on the same path. And to have to make that commute, and you meet girls that same age as you, look just like you, love the game, but you're growing up in two different worlds. And I can go
tell me more about
into
that.
Yeah,
share a little bit more, because our whole point of this whole podcast is not only to share your story, but to also share, girls back home on island who might be, experiencing some of those similar things, maybe not to the extent as we do here in the city, but maybe different but similar obstacles. So if you don't mind, this is all you share as much as you like.
Just growing up in the South Bay, I claim it as LA. Whenever people ask me, that's where I say I'm from California. I'm from LA. And then I tell them I'm in the South Bay area. And reason why I do that is because I take a lot of pride in it. It's an urban area where, it's not likely that you will succeed. You're not really statistically favored. And, that's the truth. I didn't come from a middle-class family. We struggled. And when you're introduced to an opportunity like softball, I missed out on a lot of the stuff that a lot of my cousins grew up doing that were normal, meaning coming from, Psalm 1 culture, going to church, that was a devotion that you had to do as a commitment, and I was the one that missed out on all of it. I was always just kind of like here and there, and that started literally early, like at age 11, when I really started, my parents started supporting me and doing whatever they can to create that opportunity and that path for me. And what that looked like was sometimes, I'd have to catch rides with teammates that I ended up growing really close to. I was their adopted child because and I didn't understand that my family was going through anything like that at the time. I just thought we were normal like everyone else. But growing up, I realized, I saw my parents having to miss out on games, or they're working snack bars all the time, and I never understood that. And this is a good example, actually. I never paid dues. I was a sponsored athlete, and I didn't know that till literally my sophomore year in college.
Share a little bit more about that, because I know what my travel team, I don't remember necessarily paying dues, but if you don't mind sharing what that consisted of.
Yeah, so like
obviously
much,
it's like for your
yeah, like pretty much every travel team, when you're on there, you have monthly dues. Monthly dues cover, it's a split cost of whatever the budget the team comes up with for, field costs, rental space, equipment, replenishment to tournament fees and uniforms, and even maybe a little bit that goes towards the coach's compensation. For certain athletes on certain teams, and everyone's done, I believe everyone's done it. There's some people that are a little bit, there's some people that are a little bit more of a need, which I was one of those kids, that they saw something in me and they were like, hey, we don't care what we have to do, but we're going to have to do it. And, that was a blessing in disguise, because even though I didn't know my parents in trade of me playing for free, or I had still to earn my spot, but to help with the cost of that stuff, whether it's travel or maybe just the dues being, cleared, my parents did field work. They worked the snack bar. They were there the whole time. And then whenever I had breaks, I'd go and help. But I also got lucky because they would bring my cousins or my sister, and they'd say, hey, you're going to work this other shift. Because the people that couldn't afford it pretty much had to work to earn their kid's spot, in a sense, as far as that. So then it was still fair, for the rest of the team. So there's no favoritism. But I didn't know I didn't pay any of that till my dad told me. He's like, yeah, you're sponsored, and that's why we went every early morning to whenever we hosted friendlies, we're there. I was like, because I always wondered, I was like, why are we always the ones coming over here? I'm tired or whatever. So my parents wouldn't tell me, because they wanted me to make sure they still made sure I had everything I needed. Made sure I was so rested, whether it was, making sure I could sleep in the car a little longer, letting me go with the family and they just met me there kind of thing, or I saw them there earlier after I arrived. So they definitely sacrificed a lot. And, I remember seeing my mom. My mom used to work for the government, and that was also a nice convenience for her, because she was able to travel with me most times. But she took her work on the road. So when she was at the field, she was still doing calls, watching my games, or working, remotely over the phone on her conferences. And then my dad, he stayed home every now and then because of his job, because he used to work at for Bank of America or Co-America. Pretty much they did whatever they could to make sure that I could get where I needed to get. Wow.
And what are your parents' names again? I'm sorry, just reminder. I know them, but
Tanielu and Charlene. It's Tanielu and Charlene.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, they did a lot, just so that you can focus on playing ball while they took care of everything else. Okay.
Yep.
But So, going back, thank you for taking the time and sharing that. But going back to Mark Campbell, at what age who was he and what age were you?
I was 12.
Okay.
When I got to them, they were just, I believe they just transitioned to 12U. Or I might have came in.
And what team is this?
At the time, that was USA Athletics, and we used to practice over at Pacifica High School. And so Mark, pretty much that's a huge journey and story alone.
Is this the coach that just recently passed away? I'm sorry to ask you that.
Yeah, it is.
So he was pretty much your first coach outside of the South Bay area, right? 12U. That's kind of when it's all got a bit more.
Yep, he was my very first coach. I can't discredit anybody that's coached me, because there's a lot of people that have taken a part of why I'm the player I am. But Mark definitely was that coach that freaking, got me out of being the scared kid. He drilled me. That man trained me really well to be the person I am today. So Mark was he worked for Inglewood Homicide as a detective, and during my journey with him, my mom actually had begged him to let me just practice with the team. And the reason why I got to that team is because my best friend Kristen, who also is from the Orange County area, she's who I first met, when I went on travel with the Quakes. So I kind of floated with her a lot, and we went to different tryouts and stuff together. And I just knew wherever she went, I wanted to be. Because we were
What's
just
her name again?
Kristen Areola. Well, now it's Kristen Parrish, but her maiden name's Areola, and she played at Arizona with me. She was our second baseman. So pretty much like wherever, like we kind of just, where everyone knows this, you kind of have that family that you draw hips with, and you go together to these tryouts together, and you just kind of hope for the best. And Kristen and Norm kind of guided both of us. He mentored both of us on where we should have gone, and he introduced us to Mark's tryout. And I don't think I even made it, to be honest. I know for a fact they wanted. Yeah. I didn't. I'm pretty sure I didn't make it, because I think that's why my mom asked him, like, if I can just practice with them and they'll still pay dues, kind of deal. So he agreed, and they let me come and practice. And at this time I didn't know none of this. I didn't know about any of this. Pretty much it took months, to really find my niche. I was out of shape. The type of conditioning he introduced to us at that time, like, nowadays at age 10, you're seeing these travel programs introduced now, high intensity workouts, maybe a little more, it's just a lot, it's more organized and formatted, because they want to develop them quick. Mark, he didn't have any of that to play off of. He just had the police academy background and just drilled us. He didn't care. He just knew if we weren't going to do it right, he was going to run us. Anyone knows running is never fun. And I literally cried almost every time. But I had a moment where we went to a tournament and I had hit my first home run, I believe, and I just kind of got on a roll, and I really felt like I found my place. I was really close to all my teammates. Mark always found a way to push me, and pretty much from there, with that team alone, I experienced winning ASA Nationals for 12U and 14U. And then our group together went from Mark, because he had younger daughters that he stayed back in coach.
Okay.
So our group went on to the next awesome coach, which was Doug Myers for the OC Badbusters. And we all pretty much, we were that group that we were balling and everyone knew who we were, and we won nationals that first year with Doug. And,
was that 16 or
that was for 16U.
Okay.
So we did our thing there. Oh, go ahead.
Okay. So I'm sorry to go back really quick. There was a part that you said you were a scared kid, right? You were scared, and Mark took you out of that comfort zone. Can you explain a little bit more about what was it that caused you to be scared, or what were you scared of?
Oh man, it was just, not knowing if you were good. Like you see he has a very talented group there, and it was very discouraging being the one to come in there and you really I literally did not even know how to base run. Like I didn't understand the strategy behind it. I just did whatever if they pointed, I went. If they panicked and said stop, I tried to stop as fast as I could. And there were times where I messed it up, I would get yelled, I'll get drilled when I couldn't make my throwdowns. And I didn't have I never had catching lessons. I only had hitting lessons with Norm. And then he mixed in fielding with me every now and then. But I had to literally observe the ones that were really good and try to, I just chose on my own to just copy. I was like, all right, if he's praising her, I need to do it. And so I got discouraged a lot with the tone. I was always scared because he yelled at me. And, it's never good. I think in our culture, and just my own upbringing, you get yelled at, that means you don't know what the hell you're doing or you did something bad. And I was very sensitive. I was very sensitive kid growing up. I come from a big family, but we're taught to be so humble. We're taught it's not okay to be praised and brag. So I didn't know how I wasn't trained or didn't have the type of communication of tools or relationships with my folks to be able to discuss what I was feeling, and I would always just break down. And so, and I guess this also goes kind of back to what you were asking, how was it going from the South Bay to going outside of, our city limits to go and play for another program? It's just different worlds. I believe whatever your upbringing is, if you're struggling upbringing, you're going to lack a lot of the communication where if someone who has it, they may not have, they may not be stressed about the stuff that we would on the everyday lower level stress about. So they have the time to really invest in spending time with their families and being able to get to know their kids. So whenever I saw that in my teammates, I see how close they are with their parents. I really wanted that. I really wanted that with my own folks. And, I don't know what the proper way, how to say it, but I'm just going to say it like this, in the Samoan culture, feel palangi, that's not what we do sometimes. And, I didn't understand it. And my mom and dad couldn't really explain that to me whenever I would ask hey, why aren't we close? Why can't I have this relationship? And I struggled a lot because I was really close to my best friend, where I saw that she was so close with her mom to talk about anything and everything. And the stuff that I struggled with in softball, my parents were just hey, you either got it or you don't. Or well, why don't you just ask coach? Because they didn't know. They were just really just supporters. But when I would try to cross that barrier of, hey, can we be this? It was foreign. It's very foreign. So I had to kind of I held in a lot of stuff, and that's where a lot of my coaches came into play. And I think that's what really set me apart from, being the average Joe in Carson, Gardena, in the Samoan community, to why I just wanted more. I wanted to just, I knew hey, these folks have nice homes. They have their kids have all these nice things. How can I do that? And I recognized early that, and I would say it was also because of you when you got recruited to go to Oregon State. I was just well, dang, she just playing softball. This is not me knowing the academic requirements or anything like that. This was just me seeing an example of a Samoan girl from the same city got an opportunity to go to college. And I didn't know what the hell you had to take. I didn't know what you had to do. All I knew is, okay, you just got to go play softball and you got to be good at it. The more people cheer for you, that means people are going to like think that you're good enough to take you to their school. And I didn't know if I knew I could probably do it, but I didn't know how good I would ever be. Because I had a lot of insecurities that I just wasn't confident in because I didn't hear it enough. I didn't have enough affirmation, I guess, in the way that I wanted it, but I did receive it. I would say I did receive it, but I didn't learn that till later, later on in life after just growing up, maturity. But,
so the thing that pushed you or kept you going was the fact that you just wanted to do more, right? Every weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, it was year-round that you played, right? I'm assuming it's kind of similar to...
When I really got into it, like as soon as I started on the Quakes, I mean, it was a commitment. Like I struggled with that stuff too. Like, why did I have to miss Auntie's graduation, or why did I have to miss church? Like I had to figure out all these social events and stuff. I didn't understand what sacrifice and stuff was, like, what it really meant. And I thought I was being selfish a lot of times because my sister Deborah, she played every now and then, and she tried to go for high school, but then she just focused on school after she didn't make her team. And then she just was just cool with that. Like, she was just cool with just doing her thing. And so my parents, they saw that I really liked softball, and they invested it in me. And growing up for myself, sometimes I was looked at as the spoiled child or the golden child. And sometimes I would feel bad to be looked at like that because I wasn't trying to be that kid. I didn't want like my cousins to feel like I was being favored. I wanted them to see that I was actually really good. And at the time, none of my family really watched me play. So whenever I had an opportunity, I looked at them as like that. I looked at those moments when they would arrive, and it all started with my grandpa, Tanielu and Charlene Koria. My mom was his caretaker. I believe that was when I was 13, 14, and he would live with us. My mom would let him travel with us every now and then and get him out of the car, put him in his wheelchair, and he would sit there watch some of my games. And to anyone that has that, knowing that their grandpa is fragile, he had 2 strokes, I believe, before he got paralyzed completely. But to have opportunities like that, that was my first understanding of having a reason why I play and why I go as hard as I do, because someone I love, like my grandpa, is not able to be that way anymore. He can, I can see it in his eyes, but he can't physically do it. So I was very inspired to, like, I have the physical ability, so I need to perform. I need to show him.
And what age was this?
That was,
do you remember?
13, 12, like going into pretty much going from 8th grade to my freshman year in high school is when we really had my grandpa.
That was a pivotal point right there. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just pretty much, that's where I really started having whys. Like, the reason why I played for my family, the reason why I played was for my grandpa. Like, my grandpa was the first person I was going into my high school year because he lived with us, and we turned our kitchen area into his room. And
wow.
He couldn't come to games anymore, so I would take him my bat, and my mom and them would pray, and he would actually, like, this is when he's still able to actually speak. It's very choppy, but he was able to, at least just say, he always called me Boo from Yogi Bear, and that was my nickname for him, was Boo Boo, but Boo for short. And he would just pray for me and just, to make sure I'm safe and stuff like that. But I appreciate those moments because I guess it was spiritually, it was very inspiring to know that, for someone who's going through so much pain, that they have so much faith to be able to put in me. And I put pressure. I think growing up, I put pressure on myself to make sure I try to do things with excellence, to the best that I could, to make sure my name was in a newspaper, or to make sure I had a high, scoring average, batting average, because those were things that I could actually measure to show, and to show like, hey, like this is the reward in it for myself and for you, and I think that's what really that's the kind of stuff that really helped me. And then when I lost my grandpa in my high school years, that was the first ever biggest loss I had. And then I had lost my Uncle Ma'o, which was my other first cousin, Jared, his dad, my mom's sister's husband, and I was pretty close to him too. So I had like two big like changing moments in my life where I was just like, there's so much loss going on here, and I had to figure out what to do with my pain. I had to figure out what to do with my emotions, like how do you handle this? And I gave myself no choice to stop playing. I used that as my platform to express myself, to represent, my family on a whole nother level than just doing, good in school. Like, and I think that's when I actually saw a turning point for me, that I had an opportunity to really, because I started getting better. I started hitting better. I started fielding better, learning the game more. I took interest in watching college sports, especially when you went to school. We always got excited to go and watch your games. And, just
I still have a
being
nice
able
picture
to
of you and I from back then. But yeah, go ahead.
But no, like that's the honest truth. Like you were like, I always would talk about with my mom. I'm like, man, you feel like Adrian like does this, or like I remember when you even played for was it Pro Bowl? When you went to go play, like I remember all of that. Like I remember seeing you when you guys had when you guys took the Pac-10 and you took that picture. I remember saving that magazine. Yes, I was total like groupie. I was just like, hey, she's doing it. Like she went pro. She had like USA on her chest. Like let me like
But
just,
years
like,
later, you had a couple years later, that's when you're at U of A making a name for yourself, right? But before we go into that, you and of me, focus it back on you. 16U, did you say what? Thank you for that, though. I appreciate it. But 16U, who did you end up playing with for 18U?
So I went and played for Tony Rico for the Firecrackers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You guys, that was just an up-and-coming program when I was leaving Gordon's Panthers. So you
yeah,
were kind of one of the first teams
mm-hmm.
with him, right? Or okay.
No. So he actually I believe he had like players like Tony Mascarenas, and I think it's Tony that played for him.
Oh, really?
He had Leneah Manuma, who played for him.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So like they had been out there already for a while, because he had those girls on his team, and I think he had a girl named Rebecca. There's a lot of big names that like way before my group.
Oh, okay.
That I wasn't. Yeah. But they I went to Tony's team. And again, it's kind of weird, but I don't know, like maybe it's like an attachment thing. But like I was like bound to make sure I went wherever my best friend went, because I was
Kristen, Areola, Paris.
Yep.
I think I know her full name
now. Yep.
Oh.
That was just the thing. That was just kind of our thing. Like we were so tight, and I was just like, man. And she probably doesn't notice that she probably just went wherever it was like, the best house for her. But when you're going to 18 goals, they do. It's kind of like a college recruiting. You're trying to figure out what team you're going to ride with for the next, year and a half or two. And people will like have meetings, and trust me, I've had like opportunities to go play for a lot of big organizations that are still going today. And I chose Tony's team because I didn't know nothing about the firecracker culture. All I knew is my sister's over here. If I have opportunities, let me go over here. And that's kind of what it was. So like after she found out about her meeting with him before I even knew where I was going to go for 18, and she was already committed to go to him. So I was just like, man, I hope he wants to talk to me. I hope he has a spot for me. Like maybe, I don't know, but come to find out, he was already planning to talk to me, and I met with him like maybe like 2 weeks after that. And all I was really waiting for was for him to just offer me, like, yeah, we want you on our team. And I was like, bet, like, I'm coming. Like, be a firecracker, whatever that means. I'm going to come and do it because I just know my sister's here, and I work well with my sister. Like, I have to be with her. So, yeah, so pretty much I went and played for Tony, and we won a national championship for 18 gold with his group, which I was
wow.
one of the – yeah, we won. That was our first year with him, and we actually played. We had a lot of studs on our team. Like my junior year, when we went over there to him, everyone was already committed. Like our whole, even our secondaries were all committed to the top schools. Yeah.
Were you committed at the time when you joined? I mean, we'll get into that, but now that you brought that up, you were a junior in high school, right?
Yeah. So I actually verballed my sophomore year.
Oh, okay.
Well, yeah. So I verballed. Was that sophomore year? Yeah, right before junior year. But yeah, I had a visit and I had verballed. And I went with my sister Kristen. We both went on our visit together, and we were actually also with one of our pitchers that we played with at Arizona, Kenzie, who was actually a year younger than us. So she went in her freshman year. Our actual visit.
Wow.
So. And we were kind of already close with her and her family, and the Fowlers. But we didn't know, like, no one knew they were going to commit. Like, we just literally went on the visit, and I just knew what my top schools were, and Arizona was one of my top schools. And I was just like, you know, if I like you here and everything works out, like, I'm probably going to do it. Like, if he offers me, I'm going to do it. I'm going to probably just say, yes, let me stay here. But, so I was already committed pretty much, like, maybe a couple months after I went to Tony.
Okay. So that was with Doug Meyer. Okay. So, wow. Okay. There's a lot going through my head right now with what I want to ask you. But, okay, your sophomore year, right? Apparently that was your unofficial. So you, Kristen, and Kenzie, you guys all took this Kenzie Fowler. You guys all took this unofficial trip to U of A?
Yep.
And the reason being was that because recruiting was a little different at that time, or you guys just wanted to go visit the school?
Well, we went. We were. I believe we did. I don't know if that was after a camp. I think we were there after winter camp. We did. I think we participated in winter camp, and then before we left, we took the tour, and then that was the opportunity where you could actually have one-on-one meetings and discuss whatever, you know, with the coaches at that time. Because you can't do it off campus. You can't do it over the phone. You can't do it letter or text. It had to be, you know, you had to make sure you were actually doing a visit. So we were that's how we planned it. We knew we were going to camp, I believe, and then we made it a trip. And after that, we knew we were going to have the meetings and the tour of the academic center and all that fun stuff. And then we'll have the infamous meeting with, you know, Coach Kendra, just to discuss, you know, his overall thoughts.
Right. From our conversation, or part of the conversation earlier with your parents and other parents, did they go with you on this unofficial trip, or did any other parents go, or did you guys go alone? How does that work out?
No, we went. We had actually all of us came with our families. So like my dad and my mom were with me. Kristen's parents were with her, and her aunt and uncle, and then Kenzie's mom and dad were there, and her sister, I believe. Yeah, so we were all there.
Okay. Oh, nice. That's good. Yeah, that's really nice. But I guess just going, since we're kind of at that travel ball recruiting time frame, were there any other schools that you were interested in, and then eventually going to why U of A was your top school?
So yeah, I mean, I had my top schools, which refresh my memory. For sure, Arizona was one, the number one school. Then I had UCLA, and then I had Oklahoma, Washington, and then I believe the other school. I'm trying to figure out if there was what the other school was. I think that was it. It was those were like my top four. Well, you see, I have a story about that, but I can't share that on here. So.
Okay, I'll be sure to. So the four schools, UCLA. Oh no. UCLA, Oklahoma, U of A, Washington. Okay, so those 4 schools, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then how did you start to narrow them down? Obviously, Arizona was just a school you wanted to go to, but do you remember how you narrowed it down?
Actually, yeah, we actually had a plan. And it was actually Norm that taught me this system. So he told me to start with my top 100, and then to narrow it down from there. And this was literally like in my freshman year, beginning of my freshman year, I started like just doing research, and I was everywhere with it, but I narrowed it down based on logistics, how I felt, you know, at the time. I mean, there was a lot going in my mind as a preteen, you know. Oh, I want to go out of, I want to get out of here, or I don't want to be close to home, or I just knew, like, the biggest why I was okay to go to Arizona was because I wanted to get away from home and have a college experience. I wanted to still have access to get back home without having to pay for a ticket. And then I looked at the academic side, but if I could have looked a little deeper, I probably would have devoted a little bit more time on the academic side in my research with like the schools, because I majored in psychology, and then I minored in sociology, but I was really there to play ball. Like that was like, I knew I wanted to be on a platform where I was coached by the best. And Coach Kendra had just finished coaching Team USA, and I remember seeing in a magazine when they were doing their training on the beach, and they're doing it with the Navy SEALs, and I see all of them running on the beach with the not the boat, but like, you know what I'm talking about, was on over their head, and they're carrying it as a team, and that thing weighs a lot, and the waves are crashing on them, you know. So I just see that in, like, I think it was like a Sports Illustrated magazine, but it was just Team USA softball training with Navy SEALs, and I was just like, bro, like, that coach where's that coach at? And then I saw Arizona, and then I started looking at their history, and I remember just hearing about the competitiveness of the two organizations of UCLA and Arizona. Like, that was just like traditional. That was when that was that, right before Oklahoma. That was when that was that. And I was just like, bro, like, it's between either or, and I have the cream of the crop. I can pick either one, and I just knew I didn't want to be down the street from my house. I didn't want to be accessible to my family. Just being honest, like, I wanted an experience. To get out of the city. Like, I literally, like, I didn't want to do it the wrong way. I didn't want to just go and run away. I didn't want to go and, you know, just work and go to a JUCO. And there's nothing wrong with that. I probably would have been okay because I would have been able to make a better sound decision. Not saying I didn't make a good decision, but just if anyone ever wonders, like, well, if you go to JUCO, is that bad? Like, no, it's not. Because you're still able to develop, you're still able to get that healthy competition, and then you're going to be able to produce yourself to go perform for another program and finish your schooling, you know. But at the time in my preteen life, the relationship with my mom and dad, mostly my mom, we clashed a lot, and that was also reason for me and motivation for me to want to just be my own. Like, I always been the type, like, you know, my sister and my dad and all them always say, like, when Leneah makes her mind up, she makes her mind up. And she's firm on it. And that's always been fact with me. Like, as soon as I make my mind up on a commitment, I ride with that. And I just knew, like, man, I need to go. Like, I want to get out of here. Like, I don't want to be stuck. I don't want to be this pregnant, you know, teen or right out of high school. And, you know, just, you know, I wanted opportunity to put myself on a better on a better playing scale, but also my parents wouldn't be able to pay for my school. I didn't want to be in financial debt because of student loans. So I knew if I could have the talent, because I've done my research, I have living proof of family that did it themselves, then I can do it. I just had to make sure I was on the right teams that were, you know, that were credible. And I did that. They found me and they invested in me, and I didn't realize how good I was till pretty much when I started. When I think going into my high school year with San Pedro, my sophomore year, like when I really started, just balling and putting my name out there in the newspapers, I got a lot of hype out of that, and I had to humble myself quickly with that stuff too, because it was cool and all, but it was now, okay, you're out here now. People know who you are, so now you got to watch yourself. Like, yeah, you're really in uniform. So how you act, that's going to portray, like, what people look at you long term, what people think of you on the recruiting side. And there's a lot of pressure there, too. Like, because I got in some trouble in high school, too, and that could have ruined my career, could have took away a lot of opportunities the way I was making decisions in my high school year. But I got lucky, and I bounced back from, getting in. I got in fights in high school, and I had to deal with, like, my behavior, my decision making, the way I portrayed my family, getting in trouble in school like that. And at the time, I also was committed to Arizona, so I was, like, reckless.
Oh wow, yeah, sophomore year, huh?
Yep. I was very reckless. I just committed, and then I got my butt in trouble. Only if you know, and I will not talk about that. But just a learning curve. To take a teen who don't know better, making stupid decisions, and then having to make a decision finally. Like, you already screwed yourself up. Now the world sees you because you're this high-profile high school athlete that people know are going to be potentially recruited by so many schools. And now the schools know that you got in a fight. And now what does that do for you? And, I only share this to, like, all my students and stuff like that. But now this is a great opportunity to share that, someone like myself, it wasn't all roses for me. I'm not perfect. And I had to learn from my mistakes and getting in trouble and making bad decisions like that. And I made a decision at that time after I got caught up in school. I had to watch my tail for a whole year because I was literally, like, I guess the word would be, like, on probation. And if I had any hiccup, I was, gonna worsen my situation. So I had to lay low. I had to make sure my school was put together, and I also struggled in school academically. So there were times where I had to, sacrifice softball a couple times because I had to trade that time for tutoring. I struggled trying to pass my SATs. I wasn't academically prepared, not because I didn't try, but I would say I didn't understand a lot of things. I didn't read a lot. I didn't, academics just didn't come natural to me, compared to, like, my older sister, Deborah, who did very good in school. Like, she literally could just sit there and do her thing, and it took me a year to memorize one verse kind of thing. So that's just, I was very, they call it, I was very dingy, and it's weird, but, those were some of the things that could have kept me from going to college, if I'm being real. It took me a good number of tries to really pass my SATs, and when I finally did that, I think I probably almost gave up hope. I was like, man, this is like whatever numerous time that I'm doing this, like, I'm nervous. There's a lot of things that I didn't have that in today's world, they actually can prepare students, on how to, your behavior or your mental preparation on going into taking a test, where me, it was just like, hey, you either get it or you don't. That was my generation. Like, you either can cut it or you can't. And I had a higher chance of failing because of the situation I was in. I mean, like I said, I came from a low, not low, but we didn't have the money all the time where my parents could put me in these high level tutoring programs. I didn't go to I'm a Los Angeles school district kid. LA Unified. That is me. Like, I am a product of it, and I have not only a bachelor's, but I also have my master's. I just had to learn how to find my learning niche. And it's actually funny because I had to go to summer school at Carson High School. And that there's a teacher there, I think his name is Mr. Batuco. I might be murdering his name.
Math. Batuco,
So
building.
So that algebra, I had to take algebra with him. And when I tell you that, I done met so many teachers at San Pedro, not knocking my school at all. But that man took his time and he gave me a whole different language on how to understand math that I was just like, bro, was that easy? So thank you, Mr. Pachuco, because if it wasn't for you, I would not be here.
This is summer school, right?
This is summer school. I had to do summer school at Carson High. And yeah, that was the only time I went to Carson, guys.
Oh, yeah, he's still there, I believe. K building upstairs, right? Are we talking about the same Mr. Batuco?
Yep, upstairs.
Oh,
yep,
wow.
That's him.
Yeah.
But
I'll be sure to let him
sorry.
know to listen to this. No.
I mean, I guess what I'm trying to point out is for someone like me who, you know, whether it's the athlete that wasn't, you know, that's not really all there with their academics, or it just takes them a little bit more time. You know, it's very important, I think, for parents and families in our side of town, in our culture, to recognize those trends, because there are other places that you can introduce your child to that'll help them, because it's all about the teacher, in my opinion, and how they teach, and how far they're willing to go with their students. And Mr. Patuca was definitely one of those teachers in my life. Even though it was a short period of time, but like I literally tell you, it was night and day. I was just like, I would always go back home to my mom like, man, this guy's good. Like, I actually understand what he's talking about. Like, I have no shame going up there doing the work. But yeah, he was great. And then also my stats trig teacher from San Pedro, Miss Crosby, who I think is still there. She literally put hours of time with me because math was just my toughest subject to pass. And I had a lot of people that had invested time in me after school, before school, A periods, to just help me, you know, to try to just get that C in that class so I could be eligible to go to college. Or, you know, like that was my thing. I needed to make sure my GPA was good to get into my own college. Like that's the sad part. So I tell people all the time, like, you need to make sure your academics are A1, because it just takes away so much stress on trying to get the bare minimum, you know. Like I literally tried, but I just didn't. I didn't have the mental capacity to retain the information like I would have liked. I don't think I was mature enough to understand, you know. Right. I don't even know. I never even tested. Like, I probably had ABZ or whatever, and I don't even know it. Like, who knows? But I just, what I'm saying is I was very slow with my academics, and it was hard for me, and I put myself in a lot of positions in high school where I cut it really close. And that's never fun. You know, that's a reality. There's a lot of kids that are out there because they're just messing around and being careless. But then there's some people that actually have like issues academically on how they retain information or how they, you know, interpret information and receive it. And I think that's very important for families to understand, that they need to recognize these learning trends, because it can really help, you know, if they see it early. Because I think it would have helped me too if I would have met like a Patuco in my freshman year or in my middle school, you know, to have not just someone that just checks in and checks out, like people that really are, you know, invested in their students. Like, I think that also helps with why I'm very big on teaching when I do stuff in the softball community.
Wow, I think we experienced some of the same things there, Leneah. I didn't even know that till now, but thank you for sharing all of that. But you did mention something in there, and I have to congratulate you on it, and I want you to share just a bit more, is your master's. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. When did you get it? And what? And are you using it at the moment?
Not yet. So I when I started that journey, it was actually after my daughter Ashlyn was born. So that was in 2000. She's turning 2, so 2015. I had decided
16?
I wanted to do that. 15.
Oh, 15.
15, 16. I think it was like 2015 because I started in the winter.
Okay.
So I was a late start, but I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna do it. And at the time I'm married. We were living in San Diego. My husband at the time was in the Coast Guard, so we were a military family. And I was pretty much just at first a stay-at-home mom, so I was able to devote my time to doing online classes with Concordia University Irvine, which was a program I heard from a couple coaches and friends of mine that have used it because it was just convenient. And you know, I knew I wanted to do something in athletics.
Okay.
And I just knew after coaching at Calif.
Wait, we skipped a whole nother. Yeah. I'm sorry.
You okay?
Yeah.
Where do you want me to start? You tell me.
No. So you graduated from U of A what year?
2012.
2000. Wow. Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so you graduated with your bachelor's from U of A in 2012 in psychology and a minor in sociology. And then did you do anything right after that, or did you play ball?
Yeah, so no, I did not. I had an opportunity to go. I had been recruited in the NPS, but then I opted out.
Okay.
Because you know, I had lost my mom my sophomore year in college, and it was just my sister and my dad. So I decided, you know, I wanted to make sure I come home, and I also, you know, I had something lined up, so I was able to get an assistant coach job with Calif University over in Thousand Oaks. The head coach that's still there actually is Debbie Day. She was also a All-American pitcher at University of Arizona.
Oh wow!
And yeah, so that was the connection there, and I pretty much was living in Gardena and commuting to Thousand Oaks, and then I moved there and coached a travel team where they had a house that I could stay in near the college, and so I did that part time plus my full time job as a coach for Debbie. And so I was in charge of doing offense and catching, and just, you know, doing the normal things like, you know, making sure that the field maintenance was right and all that. And that was just brand new, you know. I literally was just fresh out of college, like, okay, so I'm just going to coach some girls. And that's a Division III program, very high academic program. It was my first college gig, just first job ever. But I was doing that, and I also would do lessons over at just softball off of 190th under Deborah Hartwig, who does camps and clinics out of El Segundo, and also she's actually one of the directors for the college tournament in Palm Springs. And also
I know
Fuller.
her. Okay.
Deb, yeah.
Right.
And she also is, I believe she's the one that helped create the Right View Pro program.
The what program?
It's the video analysis program called Right View Pro. So I got opportunities to work in her facility over off of 190th, and then I also did coaching with Cal Lutheran, and kind of just did that for a year, and then so after that I only did a season with them. And going into my second season, I found out I was pregnant with my daughter after I got engaged. And I had to make a decision. And my husband at the time, or fiance at the time, see, Samaya. Sorry, that's my youngest just talking, trying to make sure y'all hear her. But pretty much I decided to, you know, pick up and move to San Diego to, you know, make sure my soon-to-be family was together. And I did not coach in San Diego a whole year. I literally was just being mom, pregnant, and just just trying to figure life out. And then I started coaching high school at a school over in Chula Vista, and that's called Eastlake High School. And I was there for 2 years, and I was able to get a lot of great experience there. We were able to, you know, break records where we beat Bonita High School. They never beat that school in like 10 years. So, and I had some pretty cool players there. One of them is actually Samantha Manti, who played over at Washington and I believe is now over at Loyola, but she played for Marty Tyson's team. She was a very big pitcher for us. And she was actually one of the girls that we had on our team that we actually beat Pacifica High School in our first go around in their tournament in my first year.
Oh wow!
So we did a lot of good things in the 2 years I was with them, being able to take them from not going to playoffs to going to Division 1, and also the year after making it to the Open division, which is the highest level. But we obviously didn't make it all the way, but that it just to be able to make it in general, you know, that was a huge accomplishment for any coach ever in their first 2 years. So, and I also was overseeing 3 programs, meaning in San Diego they had a varsity, a JV, and a novice. Novice program being just, you know, anyone that wants to play. The beginners. So, you know, we were able to experience that, and that was such a fun ride. Which after that,
you had your hands full.
Yeah, and I actually had not only Ashland, but then I had CJ, because I was pregnant at Calif in Ashland, and then I was pregnant at Eastlake with CJ, or Charlene.
Oh
sorry,
my gosh.
CJ for short. So I did that full time, and I did lessons and coached travel ball in San Diego. I had my own firecracker team, and I also started my own business at the time where I would do some clinics for the community in San Diego called LKB Softball, and that literally started in my garage. And I did that. I pretty much did that after, you know, coaching high school ball, and when I would get home after practice, I had lessons. And I can't take anything away from this other company I worked for. It's called Powerline. Which was ran by Sarah Hayes. And the time I was there, I did learn a good number about, you know, indoor facilities and the business side, but I was still so young and naive that I was more on my passion versus understanding the business. And that was a short ride being with Powerline, but it was a great experience overall because that was my first introduction to a former college coach from San Diego State who opened up her own small business to run an indoor facility of softball training, and she I didn't see the gold mine that I was in when I was there, and so I did that, and then just coached high school ball. And I got an opportunity when I found out my husband was being deployed to Bahrain in 2016. He had asked if me and my kids would move to Georgia to be closer to his family while he was going to do a year leave in Bahrain. And I was at first against it and was more willing to go back home, but I also had actually, I think Hope University, I believe, that's over in Fullerton. I had interviewed there and got offered the head coach job, and I did not take it because the distance of where I was living in San Diego to get to Fullerton, and I didn't like the idea of me being away from me having to choose to live in LA so I can take that opportunity. So that was like a little glimpse of like I could have taken a head coach position and also get my master's for free, but I just wasn't mature enough to understand that, and I was all focused on my family. So then pretty much we moved to Georgia, and I had been doing my research, and I found out, I reached out to all the schools, all the colleges in Georgia, Georgia State, Georgia Tech, UGA, all of them. And then I hit up a school called Emory. It was a Division III based in Atlanta. And I didn't even realize it, but my assistant coach, Larry Ray from Arizona, that I played for, was on the staff for Emory. And he actually is the one that responded to my email. Right. I didn't even know. Like, I looked at all the bios and everything, but I just didn't look at the assistants. I only looked at the head coaches. So when he responded, we literally connected immediately, and he was letting me know that, he was planning on moving back to Tucson, and he could definitely, put in, help me, introduce me to Coach Taqueros, who was the head coach at Emory. So long story short, he made the introduction. I went through the process while I was still in San Diego. And she knew she was aware of me and got my information. And then when I got there, I think it was like 2 weeks after I moved into Georgia and finally got settled, she pretty much, asked me to come in and take a tour and did an interview, and I got the job. And so this is now my second gig as a college coach. I'm an assistant. And I did my halfway through, after the fall season with them, I found out I was pregnant with my third child, which was Zamaya.
Oh, wow.
So I literally went through my season, just like at Cal Lutheran and Eastlake. I still coached all the way through full term, and got to gain all that fun experience in the Division III, and they were a very high Division III program, and it was a great opportunity to be a part of the Emory Eagle program.
Emory Eagle.
And so with that whole process, I was introduced to, in college, as a college coach, you have opportunities to go and work showcases so you can recruit. Sometimes they have clinics and stuff, and I took a joy in that. I was able to travel a lot and see players, but also, just see different places. So in Georgia, there's plenty of tournaments and stuff that I would go and recruit at. And one of them was hosted by a program called Champions. And Champions Fast Pitch Academy is a group of ladies that was founded by a lady named Stacey Tambora. And she's actually the director and also head coach for the Atlanta Viper organization. So I worked a couple of her clinics and just got, made good relationships there. And at the end of my year with Emory, I was exploring other opportunities, and Champions had reached out and showed me, that a position that they were looking to fill. And it was to be the director of softball for a company called DBAT, which is where I currently am. And pretty much DBAT is a franchise-owned company or baseball softball academy based out of Dallas. And the companies that invested in to franchise the DBAT programs in Atlanta, they're called Impact 252, which is a Christian consulting company of investors that wanted to go into the sports industry, and franchising DBAT was the way to go. So when I got hired on, because of my relationship with Champions, which is also through Emory, I got a chance to sit down and do my interview, and now I'm the current director of softball and lead rep for one of our locations. We have 7 locations in the Atlanta area, and we're growing. We're expanding to now, I believe, 10 locations, under the umbrella of Impact. And I'm actually a part of the first multi-sport model where we do not only baseball and softball, but we do soccer and a infant program called Kids in Sports. So I've been with.
And you oversee all these 10 programs, right? Is that what I'm getting?
Oversee in the facility I'm in. I oversee all of those programs and help run them. As far as whether it's partnership events, to working with just the everyday customers, to instructor quality, to training. I pretty much am our number 2 for my facility.
Congratulations, Leneah. Oh my gosh.
Thank you.
Yeah, I didn't know all this about you. See, wow.
Yeah, girl, I'll be busy.
I see. I mean, 3 kids, masters, online coaching, now director. Wow, you just set the bar even higher for everyone. Good for you. Talk about humble beginnings and look at where you're at now. I am so amazed at everything that you've done and what you're doing still.
Thank you. It's been a process.
Wow. You have your hands full out there, and you're all out there on your by yourself. I mean, with your in-laws, obviously, but as far as family, everyone's back here, and you're out there doing it.
Yeah, you know.
And what keeps you going? So,
say that again.
What keeps you going? I mean, man, you have your plate full, but like, your girls, obviously, I'm assuming, and
yeah, you know, just that's what I was saying at the beginning, that, you know, where my kids really came into play. I'm not naturally like a futuristic person. I never really try to look ahead too far. But when I had my daughters, my firstborn, I knew that I always wanted my master's regardless, because I knew I wanted, the idea of the master's was to be a head coach somewhere. And that's still like a hope and prayer for me to be able to do, but I also realize the sacrifice that it takes, you know, to the toll it could take on a family. And being a mother, I mean, it's possible, you know, but also when I, at the time, managing the military lifestyle, being the only one that really could be depended on, I couldn't really go after that dream. That was just something I knew, okay, what can I do to set myself up in position for that opportunity? And I knew that was my education, making sure I could have my master's in something that I can use long term. And I chose my master's in coaching and athletic administration through Concordia, because I knew I didn't really want to teach. I wanted to do something administratively in an athletic department, but I wanted to coach as a head coach for a program. And after I was tired of coaching, then I wanted to make sure I learned everything in an athletic department, where they, you know, I can transition to that as, you know, for life kind of gig. You know, you're secured with benefits, you're secured with 401s, you know, just there's so many things that you have to think about, you know, for your family, to be able to have something after you're out of this world, you know. So that was really my reason why, is my girls, and making sure that I was not only, you know, pursuing my own dreams, but I was giving them something to remember, that like mama had a legacy, because I don't have any, I have a lot of cousins, but I have no blood baby sisters. It was just me and my sister. So for me, I'm actually, I guess you would say, first generation in my family, to really set the bar of, you know, what I want my kids to strive for and what's expected. So, you know, everything that I do and how I do it will influence or impact my kids in some shape or form. So I have to just really, you know, stay on it. And I take a lot of pride in making sure, like, every position I've taken career-wise or decision I made, it was very intentional. It was to set me up for the next thing, which I whether it was being a head coach somewhere or running, you know, my own business, which I'm kind of thinking that's almost what's happening now where my life is, while I'm still doing these jobs. But, you know, just to be able to make sure that I had stability for my family after this, and making good investments in that with the type of decisions I made in my career, because I went from intentionally wanting to be a head coach to, and that was the whole point of getting a master's, but it has literally transformed to, I've worked for 2 years for this company called DBAT, and I have plenty of years of experience with coaching in all different ages, but as far as high level, being able to be a part of 2 collegiate programs, And then also being surrounded with a program like Champions Fast Pitch Academy, who they actually host a lot of the collegiate showcases in the South. And I actually work for them as well as I'm sometimes a site director for their tournaments and recruiting and indoor showcases. So to be able to see like the background and back end, I've taken a lot of interest on that side, not only as an instruction coach for them, but to network, to be able to understand, you know, what other opportunities there are in the softball realm. You know, it's not just about the coaching part. Like, there's so much business that you can learn and entrepreneurship that you can learn about. And I've really taken an interest in that because I'm in that market. I work for great big time consultants who are bringing what they know into the softball industry, and to be able to understand and learn like metrics and stuff like that. That's all where my master's comes into play, because I really want to learn how to be a potential AD or just to run a program overall or manage a program overall. So I think that's where a lot of my interest of like why I continue to go on to the next thing, because I want to learn as much as I can about the overall business. And I think that's where I'm discovering in myself a lot now, that I have these tools now because of all my experience and the people I've worked with and met, to be able to put myself in a position to maybe one day run my own facility or maybe run a pro team. Who knows? Like, there's just so many opportunities, but that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Or even open up an indoor facility in Samoa. I'm just saying, who knows, right?
I am not against it at all.
Right? I love that too, but and I mean, we're obviously trying to get girls on islands exposure, you know. So that's something. Who knows, that you and Rob or whoever might be able to have a conversation in days and months, weeks, time to come. So hey, check you out.
Hey. You know, hey,
you never know, right?
I'm there. I'm never against
definitely
now.
Yeah, and now it's out there, and you know, a lot of the girls might not know the importance that, you know, there's Division 1, 2, and 3, and I mean, what kind of advice could you give these girls that might be looking, you know, at a D3, but don't necessarily want to go to a D3? But you know, what kind of advice do you have for the youth, the girls on island, or even here stateside?
I mean, so there's huge differences, you know, larger schools, smaller schools. But the academic parts are really the biggest thing that I would encourage a lot of our athletes to really consider when looking at the program. You know, you go to a Division 3, and that's such a humbling experience for me, because I got a chance to work for 2 Division 3 programs in my career. And to see the type of athletes those girls are, they already know what they want to be. They already know what they want to study. They have taken APs. They have done everything. You know, they're the top of their class. So, you know, if you're that kind of student academically, but you have a passion for softball, D3 is the place to go, because it's still, you still get your season, but you also get to, you know, explore the academic dreams that you've always wanted to. Some people don't know this, but when you go to Division 1, there's it's a lot more games being played. It's a bigger platform. There's more traveling required. There's more off-season stuff that are required. And people that want to go into like nursing or something like that, and that's so where it requires extra hours, or teaching where you need to get your student hours. No one knows this, but there's some places where you're restricted. You're going to have to do some of that stuff after you finish school. You know, so on top of your 4-year degree, you may have had to study something else and just get the prereqs, but you're not able to really finish on time because you're doing softball. Because a lot of those courses are probably being offered during the time you're playing, and then you're kind of putting yourself in a position where you have to make a decision of your commitment. well, do I go pursue my academics and be frustrated that I'm not committed to my team, or do I just ride it out and have to understand that, all right, I'm getting to go to school for free or whatever the case academically, but I know I won't be able to be done in my 4 years. I have to wait after my senior year and then sign up for whatever extra courses to complete this degree. So, you know, people don't really get that part of it. So, and then Division II, I mean, those are still great levels. JUCOs are still great levels. So my biggest takeaway for anyone is you need to really dig deep on what it is you're planning to study, understand and do the research on how long it takes to become whatever that career path is that you're trying to pursue, so you can give yourself a realistic game plan long term on what that looks like, and then make the decision on that. And then also consider, you know, the logistics of things. Even though you have a great performing program, it may be too far. And it's okay. You can play for a local school and then, you know, let yourself mature. Like, some, you know, no one understands that these girls are committing at age 16, 15. When they're 18 going to college, or 19 going to college, their mindset's totally different. You know, you're not just the 15-year-old that you thought you were when you're like, oh, I want to go here, I want to do this, I want to go study this. Or you might be more influenced by your parents on going to the school because that's what they want you to do. And 3 years later, you do what they've been wanting you to do, but then you realize that's not really your truth. That's not your truth. That's not your place where you feel you should be. So I think a lot of girls need to just understand to, you know, enjoy the process, make sure that they, when they choose the school and program that they're going to, make sure it feels like home to them. That was one biggest thing when I was being recruited. My parents had always said to my coaches in any of the meetings, I need to know I can trust you and that you're going to treat my daughter like your own. And that was the biggest thing for me as well. Like, I can't take anyone that's not genuine about me, who's not going to be generous with their time for me. Like, I need to know that they're for me and not against me. I know them, Maya. Sorry, my baby's over here just laughing at me.
It's okay. We're just
That's pretty much what I would say for anyone on the island or that's entering this realm of their journey on making the decision and where to go. You know, base it on the academics. If it's a financial thing that you're worried about, do your research on the financial opportunities of grants and scholarship funds to be able to make that realistic commitment. But there's nothing against taking a longer route so you're not putting yourself in a financial burden or a logistics burden where you're not ready to be away from your family. Because remember, when these coaches are recruiting you, they're recruiting you for the overall process, all 4 years to 5 years that you would be with them. So for you to shortchange a coach that's committing their time in you, you need to look at it from that perspective as well. Like, you're not just trying to get their attention, but they're also trying to get your attention to commit their time to you for life. You know, and that's something that a lot of girls need to understand before they make that jump of wherever it is they're being recruited to really take that as it's literally like that's your contract. Like, you're making a true commitment, and you shouldn't change that decision, you know, made through. You have to make sure when you finally make it final that you see it through and have the integrity to see it all the way through and not make changes because of whatever things you didn't discover about yourself or that you're not comfortable with that you found out later because you didn't take the time to do your research.
Awesome advice right there. Thank you. Really good. Good job, Leneah.
Thanks.
You know, yeah. Leneah, how do you feel, you know, I'm sure back then there were some girls that played softball, but now there's so many more younger Samoan girls playing. How do you feel knowing that you played a role in them deciding to play softball? Or how does it feel to see them and then to also know that, hey, you have nieces now that are playing that looked up to you and want to be like you? How does that feel? How does that make you feel?
I
And what do
mean,
you hope?
I didn't have. It makes me proud. You know, when I played, even people that played before me, it wasn't big. It wasn't as big as what it is now. Like, there's literally a Polynesian girl almost on every program. You can go anywhere. Like, they know who they are. They're being recruited. They're recruitable. Like, I'm so proud of it. I wish I had, like a little sister or four. Like, I didn't come from our normal size Samoan families. It's just me and my sister. But I was so blessed to know I had a lot of cousins, because that has been really fun to watch. To see my baby cousins making their name, and I always, maybe I had like an impact on some or whatever, or I paved the way for whatever the case. But I always tell them, whenever I do see these girls, I tell them, like, you just need to represent you, like show you, like, you're not me, you're not, like, you gotta do you, and make sure that your name is out there and that you're proud of it when you're done, and all I ever do is just try to educate our girls on, hey, like, what's your plan after this? Like, where are you at? But my thing is, like, I love seeing, like, I just saw the Mississippi State video of two relatives, got Sarai New, that one of my relatives, got Chloe Malalu, like, that brings me pure joy, because growing up, I mean, I had tattoos young, but I was that kid in our travel in my generation that, like, that girl is the one with the tattoos. Like, I had it when I was 14. Like, okay, parents out there, don't do it, but it's a norm, and I had it. But I was very proud of it. It was a culture thing, and I really love seeing our Polynesian girls just out there embracing our culture more and more, wearing it on their sleeves and talking about it. I think it really has to do with why we're so passionate about the sport, or just sports in general, in any community. And it's just the biggest takeaway for me when I see that is that I think they all saw opportunity and they took it. It's helpful when you see more, when you're able to multiply yourself without even knowing it. And we have multiple versions of Adrian's, we have multiple versions of Leneah's, we have multiple versions of Vanessa, Yapala. There's multiples out there now who have studied the people before us, who are smart enough to recognize the opportunity and the challenge, and I love it. Like, that just makes it easy to recruit, because like, to any college coach, honestly, when you don't need to ask if that kid has power. You don't have to ask if that kid's a good kid, if they come from a good family. You see it in numbers. You see it, like, all the time. Like, you see how these people, how we represent ourselves. And I think that's very helpful and a beautiful thing to give to coaches and teams, because we're very well known in our culture. But I love it so much because I didn't have siblings, but now I see all these little Samoan babies that I saw at the Ainga Foundation camp, and I see them now at Oklahoma, Oregon, Stanford, like, it's just Washington. Like, I see them, and I'm just like, I know that kid. Like, I even have some of my own kids in San Diego who are being recruited already, and it's just a beautiful thing to know that we were able to know better, to keep our relationships and be able to still help them. I have conversations all the time with families and friends that are going through the recruiting process now, and I tell them all the time, like, they're gonna be great, just wait. And they're like, what do you mean? She's only 10. I'm like, I'm telling you. And then 2 years later, I get a call, and it's like, Lee, they won't stop calling me. And I'm like, I told you, man. Like, there's always, I was like, you have it, and I think families just need to understand and trust that process. And no one knows this, but like, I think we probably have maybe the most athletes produced in softball.
What was
and
that?
it's growing bigger and bigger.
What was that? No, I didn't hear you. What'd you say?
No, I was just saying, like, I think if we were ever to measure, like, the the racial population and numbers
right.
in the sport in general, like who has the most. I think we're pretty up there, like
yeah.
And I think that right there just speaks on all the hard work a lot of people before us have put in, and that wasn't the intention, was to make sure we multiplied, but it was just to be able to show others, like, hey, we can get out of this, we can make better opportunities for ourselves. And that's my biggest takeaway. And every time I see more of the girls out there playing, that's what I see. I don't just see girls playing ball. Like, I see them like, man, another one made it out. Another one made it out. Like, another one is educated. Another one has, a strong, young, independent woman. Like, that's what I see when I see these young ladies from the island, from stateside, that are Polynesian descent and out there playing ball and representing their family names and performing as well as they are. And just to even get to that opportunity to be in a collegiate program, to get a higher education. That's the whole point. I mean, I think that's nothing that any Polynesian parent would ever want. Like, that's all they ever ask for, is for their kids to get higher education and be better than where they were or where they started from. So yeah, that's a lot, but that's my biggest thing, is just seeing these girls take the opportunities and taking advantage of it.
Right. No, well said. Any words for parents out there, please?
Yeah, I mean,
you kind of said it, but yeah.
I guess just, love your kids no matter what, and just whatever you can do to provide them the place and path and the direction of where they're trying to go, do it. It's all worth it. Not everyone gets a scholarship. That's the reality of it. But what we do to help set our kids up, putting them in sports in general is very big. It helps with, their peer building, all of that fun stuff. It helps with their decision making, especially in the job and just the work place, just being able to interact with others and being good people. Those steps that they're taking and putting their kids in sports, they're going to go a long ways that they don't realize it. And if you just keep them, coddled indoors, or, not giving them the opportunities, they're gonna be lax. They're not gonna be able to, feel like they have that urge to want to go get more of opportunities. So I think the more risk parents take, the more chances of success and opportunities their kids are gonna see. And they need to get out of the whatever their norm of life is, and just explore those a bit more. And it's okay to do that. I mean, it's why we have faith. So that's my advice.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Wow, that was. Was there anything else that, I know it's been a long conversation, but I feel like, is there anything else you'd like to share before that we might have missed, or anything?
No,
you don't have to,
I will be. I'll be in California.
Oh, wait! Yeah. Please, I knew that was something I was gonna share with ask you to share, but I did see that. So go ahead. I know.
Yeah. So
share it.
So I'll be coming to California next month, and there's multiple reasons on coming back. My sister's having her 1-year memorial, but she passed away last year due to a car accident, and this may even influence or inspire someone, but I decided not to walk in December of last year because I found out I could walk in May, which the day my graduation is, which is May 4th, is the same day as my sister's accident. So I'm able to honor my sister and my mother and my family receiving my master's degree on that awesome day. But right before that, and this is just me being an overachiever, I reached out to a lot of my connections in Carson and was able to connect with Dolphin Park. Shout out to Yvonne Ale. for helping me with that, and with also Coach Cam Warner from Clarkson High School for helping me out with this too. But I am hosting a clinic on May 3rd, Friday night at Dolphin Park from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. And it is, I already have open registration going right now. We have a good number already enrolled, but just want to inspire people that are out there that are, you know, it's okay to have newbies. It's okay to have older players that, you know, that have been playing for a while. But this is just my way of bringing out, giving a reason to the Polynesian community mostly, but also just softball community to come out and experience what it's like with Coach Leneah, what it's like with my staff. And my staff are literally every high-level collegiate athlete that I've ever played with that lives in that town. That is my staff. I just reach out to all of my good former teammates and colleagues, and this is a reunion for us, but it's also our way to give back. So it's going to be the best couple hours for any young lady that is of Polynesian descent or softball driven. And we're just going to be reviewing a lot of fun stuff and just talking about the culture of softball and what it can do for us and the type of opportunity it brings while we're working hard at it. So sign your kids up. You'll find it on my Facebook page at Coach Leneah. You'll find it on my Instagram page. It's me, Leneah 90. And if not, you'll also can just, look up my name on Google, and you'll be able to find the link there. But Dolphin Park will also have the ad as well. So it's streaming out there. If you guys are interested, just email me also at LeneahSoftball, LINI softball @gmail.com, and I'll be glad to send you the flyer and link for your registration. But it's going to be a great time, and this is actually my first time hosting a clinic in years. And I'm talking years because I've been living in Atlanta. So I'm bringing everything I got all the way from Georgia to California, and just really excited about it because this is a different type of – I'm in a different place as a coach than where I was when I was playing. And I just have so much information I want to give, and I think people will really appreciate that.
Friday, May 3rd, Dolphin Park, 5 to 9 p.m., correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Oh, man. I don't even know where to start other than to say thank you very much. I've known you, but yeah, thank you for everything you've shared. I mean, I learned a lot about you and your journey, and I'm so proud of you. Oh my gosh, I'm so very proud of you. I am. I had no clue. I mean, I know you had the girls. I knew you moved out to Georgia, but I didn't know your journey, and that's the whole purpose of this whole podcast that Rob Penne and his Pacific Rim wanted to do, is just share, former collegiate athletes, softball players, in hopes to inspire those on island and off island. But me as your cousin, I'm humbled to do this interview with you, and I'm just so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. You're inspiring me in so many ways. But I mean, if you don't have any other words, which you're more than welcome to share a little bit more. But if not, we just want to thank you, and thank you so much. I've enjoyed learning more about you and what's in store for you. I'm looking forward to watching you, seeing you grow even more. But thank you so much.
No problem. I really appreciate the opportunity. And you guys, thinking of me, and I mean, that's just, there's a lot of fun stuff. I'm really excited. This is really cool to be able to, be a voice for another listening ear, and hopefully it inspires them to, kind of break those barriers or walls of self-preservation where they may have said no and they're trying to figure out the why. And I hope that they can break through that, and this encourages them.
And one thing I have to add, you speak very well. I appreciate you. Some of the stuff that I had to talk about earlier with Rob, I didn't get out to easily, but you speak very well, and I appreciate that. So I just wanted to share that with you. So good job.
that's all my mama, man.
You might just take my role. But I admire that about you. But ladies and gentlemen, kids, Friday, May 3rd at Dolphin Park, 5 to 9. Perelini Koria-Bush is putting on a clinic, so make sure you guys get out there and support her and pick their brains and all of that. But Leneah, again, I appreciate your time. I know you're 2-3 hours ahead of us.
Yeah, we're 3 hours ahead. Yep.
Are you in Atlanta or?
Yeah, so I'm on the outskirts of Atlanta. I'm actually near the airport. So I'm not too. I'm like, so if anyone wants to fly and visit Atlanta, I can definitely pick you up. I'm only like 15 minutes away.
Oh, excuse me. Yeah, definitely. But thank you very much, and I appreciate this time I had with you. But this isn't the end. We'll be in touch definitely for sure, and hopefully one day you'll be able to get that indoor facility up in American Samoa. I'll keep that in prayer for you, girl.
Hey, you speak it into existence.
Hey.
I will also be there. There's nothing wrong with that. Take me.
We'll leave that up to Rob and a little bit of whatever I can do. But we'll be in touch,
really
Thank you.
No worries. Yeah, I can't wait to, I guess, hear this.
Yeah, that's all, Rob. My job is done now.
Right. Well, great job, Adrian. You did a great job.
Hey, you did it all. You did it all. But we'll be in touch, though. All right, sis?
All right. Sounds good. Thanks so much.
Take care. No, thank you. And I'm sorry to keep you up or to keep the girls up. They sound like they're asleep right now.
Yeah, they're out. They're out of it.
Oh, you take care. But thank you so much. Love you, girl.
Love you, too.
I will,
We'll talk soon.
Of course.
All right.
Okay.
Bye.
Okay, bye.